Federer says Berdych played extremely well at Wimbledon.
Oh.
Fed said so in this recent UAE radio interview. Also mentions how well Soderling played at RG. So much for not giving opponents credit.
Heil Nadal.
How arrogant of Roger to say his opponents played well to beat him. A more humble thing to say would be they played like crap and still beat him. That would be Federer admitting that he is easy to beat.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is he is saying it 6 months later, after his assistant already told him what the trolls and pundits are saying, and he has time to calculate a response/statement. What did he do/say 15 minutes after the match when he was still freshly pissed off he just lost his favorite tournament, when you get to hear his fresh-off defeat, real, actual feelings? Not sure what type of credit you were trying to award here.
Sue. Does Merca troll these boards? Really? Come on, dude. Use the content stored between your ears. So what if Federer did not have the most gracious response after the actual defeat? He is a human being and far from perfect. We are not always gracious and nice 24/7. Things happen. He makes mistakes. It is not a reason to hate the guy.
Then Nadal destroyed both of them. Yay.
As can be evinced from the previous post, it's not Federer being arrogant, it's certain valuable Nadal fans who have the problem. Yep, and Federer is laughing all the way to the bank.
Otherwise known as damage control, after hearing Berdych's answer to a reporter's question about whether he voted for Rafa or Roger for sportsmanship in 2010, in the post-match interview at WTF, after Rafa threw his tantrum at Carlos Bernardes. Roger should have just let it go, instead of responding to it.
Apparently I'm the only one here that has said something in the heat of the moment and later retracted or revised what I said. He is a tennis player, not Jesus. Thank God no one interviews me after I lose. Oh my God.
Yep, just not classy enough until long after the event, only after he's won the WTF.
Nadal was so gracious after French Open 2009, ha.
So when a player loses a match and is pissed off, what he says about the match after 15 minutes is his real, actual feelings, and it's supposed to stay like that? Maybe you think it's impossible for a person to change his mind about something later. Or maybe Federer never really thought that he played a poor match or Berdych beat him just by playing decent anyway?
I'm not trying to award credit, just pointing out that this notion that Fed doesn't give proper credit to his opponents is BS. This isn't the first time he's said how well Berdych played at Wimbledon. And why is it surprising at all that right after a loss, which had to sting BTW, when your emotions are raw you might say things you wouldn't say a week later, or even the next day? It always annoys me when people complain about what a player says in a press conference after a loss. Quite honestly, I think press conferences, especially after a tough loss, should be optional. I'm sure after the 2009 Wimbledon loss the last thing Andy Roddick wanted to do was answer questions from the media. Berdych was an arsehole for saying publicly who he voted for with the Sportsmanship Award. Classy players would keep quiet on who they voted for. And I never got why what Roger said at Wimbledon had anything to do with Nadal. It's not like he and Nadal were the only ones up for the award.
In his press conference after his defeat by Birdman, he was complaining about injuries, and Berdych called Roger on it too, citing it as an example of Roger's behavior that lost him the Sportsmanship Award. His words, "You argue with Berdych."
He did destroy Berdych right after he cheated on his way to the final. He never said Berdych won because he was injured. Anyone who watched the match would probably agree Berdych was the better player, but I don't think they'd agree that Fed was playing his best. It's not like Berdych was this monster player, Ala del Potro 2009. He didn't win a title this year, lost 26 times. He certainly played better than Fed today, but I dare say if the Fed we saw at the end of the year was the Fed we saw at Wimbledon, Berdych would not have won that match.
I have to go to bed. Goodbye P_agony.
Goodbye. Waves at Senti.